Good afternoon, Suvir.
Good afternoon, Asad. Thank you. I've cried for the first time on a stage. No, second time. First time I was 14-year-old and my mother showed up late for a Sanskrit recitation competition.
Which
Because I was crying, I misspelled one word when I was pronouncing it, and I got a silver prize for the first time. I was gold
so you
undefeated.
didn't get gold till then,
I was
but
gold
you're wearing
undefeated
enough
till
of
then.
it right now, so it's okay. But it's been a pleasure being in I mean, I'm excited to be in conversation with you. Though our times in New York overlapped for many years, I've been to Davie twice. I don't think we met in New York, but we met here at JLF a few years ago. And little did I know that a few years down the road, I'd be in conversation with you launching your fifth book, Tell My Mother I Like Boys. Congratulations on it. And this is the big launch. And then you've got many launch activities planned. But congrats again.
Thank you, Asad.
You write in the preface of your book that this book is not a chronicle, but a monsoon. Something that pauses, floods, and returns. And I'm hoping our conversation can be something like that. You also said in the book that the book is living divided lives. Cities play a beautiful role in this book. You equate Delhi with a stage, Bombay with a storm, Pune with freedom, New York with a mirror and maze. And you said that you never quite understood why anyone asked you to write a memoir, and you actually eventually agreed on the condition that you could be vulnerable. So why did you think that to be honest without an armor was the turning point? Why did you write this book?
When I read memoirs, they're all so glossy. Oh, I went to Bergdorf Goodman, had lunch at the 7th floor, and nobody's relating to it. Only your 10 friends who can afford that lunch understand what you were doing. So I didn't want that book, that if I've flown in a private jet and arrived at Maldives, let me tell that story. That story doesn't do any good for history's sake. And so my mother would be the first one to tell me, ugh, memoir. Because a 53-year-old son, she won't read my memoir if I'm just writing a memoir. I'm hoping when she reads the book, she'll see that I've given lessons to people on how their lives are not as bad and bleak and terrible and suicidal as they think they are. Because others have lived through them and gone through the storms, the monsoons, the break in them, and then the heat and the scorching, then the tormenting, and they've come back, we've survived somehow. And these pages, I hope, give that to people. That all of us, hum log sab mitti ke bane. And we have to remember Kabir. I think I begin with one of Kabir's dohas, because my grandfather's death is my first memory as a human. And I heard my bhua singing, Mati kahe kumhar se, tu kya rondhe mohe, ek din aisa aayega, main rondhungi tohe. And in that lay all the answers I needed for my life. And my dadi, a very stern woman to us kids. I'm sure my chacha is here. He'll say, oh, Kamla Bua was so lovely. But to us, my grandparents were strict. Both sides, as stern as they could be, emotionless somehow. But my dadi called me her walking stick, and she translated Sanskrit and Hindi so clearly for me, without passion, and with great clarity of thought. So at the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, I knew what secularism was, not from a geopolitical standpoint, but a Hindu standpoint. That Hindutva to my grandmother didn't exist. What is that? It was poison. This was my grandmother's teaching. And in that, we also learned that you don't sway with emotions. You live in the middle. Somebody asked me in the audience, how do you not get excited about your book launch? I said, tomorrow I'll hear about something terrible happening in my life. If I'm so excited now, I'll be terribly lost then. So it's better to just be in the middle. Dadi and my mom and others taught me this at the age of 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Wonderful. I know family is very important to you. It's a big part of the book. You've dedicated the book to your mother. Sumit, when did you first realize that something about you needed to be edited for the world? And what did that early editing cost you later in life?
From 3 or 4 years of age, I was a restless sleeper at best. By 5, I was having nightmares. And I would, when my mother was around, not to add to her burdens, I would stay stoic. When she would leave, I would cry. And I was crying without noise because I was ashamed, I was worried, I was afraid to live in the body and form and shape I was given. I felt different. I didn't even have words and vocabulary, but I knew this world wasn't going to be a good place for me to be in. I was afraid. And by 8 and 9, I started getting ideas. By 12, when I watched Umrao Jan, it was then that I realized somebody like me can survive. If Amiran can do it, I can do it. And in seeing Umrao Jan, I found somebody that resembled me. So funny that I dress up like Umrao Jan today, but or like the kings and princes of yesteryear. But in Umrao Jan, I found hope that if she survived, I'll have to be tough and I'll survive.
Wonderful. What is it about the gaze? I mean, you mentioned it, Muzaffar Ali's film, and something about that gaze. You said it's not a blueprint. It's something that has shaped you.
You know, it made me an artist. How Muzaffar Saab uses light. If it's such simple cinematography, you saw poverty looking beautiful, you saw beauty that was fragile, you saw strength that could break others, and you saw egos that could destroy the world. And as a 12-year-old kid, I saw everything that my life was feeling in that one film.
But there's another 12-year-old story you mentioned in the book. You know, in sixth grade, you failed, and after that, you took refuge in a mirror and in imagination. How did that private inner space help you deal with the world?
So I remember even today I can't give exams. Exams and I are not made for each other. I can study 100 subjects and max them all, outshine anybody studying them, but tell me to write it on paper, I have no interest. So my mother once said to me, Baba, you have a dictation exam today, are you ready? I said, yes, Mom. She said, how do you spell jam? And there was a bottle in front of me and I said, Noga jam. Noga jam was the brand of jam. And I said, Noga jam. And she didn't beat me, she didn't hurt me, she laughed. So by 12th grade, all through 9, 10, 11, 12, my sister and her classmates that played hide and seek, house, kitchen, whatever they played, I was their little girl toy. They didn't know I was a boy or they didn't want to imagine. They dressed me up with makeup, with lehenga, skirts, everything they could wanted to wear. At 12, I started getting hairs. And that's when they dumped me. All of a sudden, the everyday ritual of dressing me up and parading me through South Ex to show all the ladies, who's the prettiest girl here? Suvir. And because people wouldn't believe I was a boy. So they would every day they would dress me up, doll me up in all the makeup they had, and I would be paraded around. And at 12 it ended. I got depressed. That these people that I had, the only people who understood me or had time for me had gone. The others were playing cricket and football and games that I found boring. So the only social circle I had disappeared. And that was the reason I failed. I have a friend who failed with me. Mohit Jain, are you in the audience? He's supposed to be here, but I guess he didn't make it. But Mohit and his family were coming. He and I both failed sixth grade. He had terrible family issues that made him emotionally a wreck. And I, because of this, and my brother laughs at how intelligent my brother is, he failed sixth grade. That people fail in 11th and 12th and college, we failed in sixth grade. So this was it, the unbecoming of Suvir.
But you had a lot of success after that. I mean, New York, you said, was both an opportunity and a disorientation, a place of becoming, breaking, ambition, and exile. You described New York as a maze and a mirror, as I mentioned earlier. So, how did New York break you and rebuild you? And you said it didn't cure the otherness. What did it give you, and what did it fail to give you?
So it gave me confidence. It gave me agency. It gave me access. It gave me success. It gave me notoriety. It gave me fame. It gave me the ability to get all of these. But what none of this gives you is a grounding in being complete in yourself. What Delhi and India and my birth and my gayness had robbed me of, New York didn't fill back. It still was, there was a vacuum in me. So all the success, all the fame, all the accolades, I was still that broken human being with nightmares that never got healed, that never got sleep, that never got resolved, that nothing could undo. So I think the reason I've written this book is I'm hoping parents read it more than kids, that allies, straight people read it more than gay people, that we at the core of all of us is a human being that's equal to all of us. We're all equal, humans. If we can look at that humanity as being the link that connects us, the rest doesn't matter. And if there's any young LGBTQ plus child crying at 3, crying at 5, crying at 9, crying at 11, and not being able to sleep, all their lives they'll be broken people. And nothing fills those gaps. So I'm hoping that this book is read by those people as much as by the gay people, so that nothing. वो कहते हैं दरारें रह जाती हैं. I wrote in the book somewhere, and a journalist called me up and he said, you were doing kintsugi before you knew it. I said, yes, all the art I did, I would macrame, crochet, knit, do needlepoint, do pottery. I did everything to just escape my head, my mind, my circumstance. So if any young kid can know that just being distracted by these things can save you, I want them to know that these are some of the mechanisms I employed in my brokenness.
And cook.
And cook. And yes, the kitchen.
Yeah.
My mother's saris, she's not wearing a sari today, but she always wears saris. And when I was a kid, her pleats, I remember clearly I would try to hide behind them. And I would cover my face behind something and think I wasn't being seen. And she would tell me, Baba, we can still see you. We know you're here. And they never understood why I was hiding.
Right.
I had shame in being me. I was ashamed of myself when I'd done nothing wrong at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then, of course, bullying started after that. But this is before I was bullied by myself.
But I mean, I'm digressing. One of my mantras, and when I built a website in 1997 when I reached New York, and I had like
how late you were? I had a website in 1994.
Oh wow, you are. I mean, you are a maverick. I mean, that goes without saying.
Suvir.com.
But I had written on it, if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. And I talked about Madison Avenue, the job I wanted. But what do you think of Frank Sinatra's song? Is it true? If you can make it there, can you make it anywhere?
You can. But I think even if you can make it in Bombay, you can make it anywhere.
I
I really do think that Bombay is a fantabulous city. And it's everything New York can give you. But it has heart, it has soul, it has Shobhaa and her loving family.
I'm also there, by the way.
And Asad to release the next book. But Bombay, somebody was interviewing me about Ambedkar. I was writing about the book Caste by Yengde. And as I was reading Caste, I said, yeah, for the first time in my life, I see the other that Delhi had trained me to see. The Dalits, the others. But in Bombay, they're living right there. Every big fancy building, there's a chawl next to it. And you see these people with vacant eyes, with proud eyes, with broken eyes, with anger, and with forgiveness. And you're ashamed of yourself. So I realized Bombay teaches you so much that New York does, but in Bombay it's even better. So I think Bombay, if you have dreams, go to Bombay.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. But anyway, one of the other important threads in your book is health. Not as an episode, but the reckoning. So how did that reckoning permanently change your relationship with ambition, productivity, and self-worth?
So, earlier when I used to have pain, I thought it was just me thinking I have pain. It's pain of trauma of just being me. But as I had hypertension from my teens. I had rheumatoid arthritis. I had joint disease, all kinds of stuff. But health was also, I think it's part of what you get when you're ashamed of yourself, when you're bashing yourself. All these things get exaggerated. But then the crisis that took place in 2014, 15, 16, as I look back at it, I think a lot of it is again emotional trauma. I was an adult. I became an adult way sooner than I should have. I was a 20-year-old getting success he didn't deserve. At 20, I was in the masthead of Food and Wine magazine and Food Arts magazine. On my 30th birthday, the publisher got me a happy 40th birthday cake. He said, I hired you at 20. I said, you did. But you wrote like a 50-year-old. Well, you become 50 at 10 when you have to just deal with all the stuff you have to deal with. So I think health was magnified because emotionally, structurally, fiscally, I wasn't there at the age groups that I was always projecting. People expected me to have everything in my life, and I didn't even have myself. And I think so the health part, somehow I have to still spend time analyzing it, got exaggerated, got worse, because I was always a person who wasn't himself, who was performing for others, who was working too hard to establish his identity. At least somewhere I should have the success, fame, and recognition that I deserve. So I did all of that. I did too much of all of that. I didn't take care of myself. There was no self-healing, no self-preservation. I still didn't do it. My Bhabhi Smita, sitting here, she said to me, you haven't taken your medicine. And you're lying. And my mother said, that's his safe mode. What did you call it? So, for me, I every day wake up and pray that a Palestinian child will be saved and I'm taken away. Because my life to me means nothing. From a young age, I knew I was nothing.
Wonderful. I mean,
wonderful, he says.
I mean, wonderful means it's just, that you actually want to give yourself up.
Tonight.
You've given yourself up for a Palestinian child. That is the wonderful.
Any minute.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
If a bomb strikes me, I'm the happiest person. because it will save me of trauma that I have a lot of pain, actual physical pain, and medical issues I can't change. So I would
But
very easily give my life for a Palestinian child or any other, or a poor child who can take my life. I'm happy to do
I
it.
mean, that's a, it's a big ask. But anyway, returning to India, you came back in 2016, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was not about geography, but about emotion. It was about, not about closure, but confrontation. And you write, when you returned to India, you came back broken, ashamed, empty. But India healed me. It handed me a second life. So, what did India ask you to face that America asked you to postpone?
India made me face my own. I don't know if India did, life did at that moment. When my mother brought me home and they just took away everything I had in America through life and through circumstance, and to her saying, come home, I had nothing of my own. I was now a dependent child on a woman in her 70s. She fed me like I used to feed birds with tubes and a spoon in my mouth. What she didn't know, the doctors didn't know, when I couldn't see, I didn't want to live, I stopped eating. This mother knew what doctors didn't understand, that I had lost weight, I had lost everything, because I wasn't enriching my body with nutrition because I didn't want to live without sight. She force fed me and I got better. And then a woman sitting next to her, Smita Bhatnagar, somewhere here, my bhabhi, she gave me, I couldn't even watch what I was doing, but she stood by my side, made me make jams and recipes, and gave me the ability to think I was a hero in the kitchen. So she gave me the ability to think I still had something left in me. Between mom and her, they made a world open for me that made me feel, oh, I can do this. So I was dependent, yes, for a good part of 3 years. I was dependent on them, but they never had any shikar on their face, no wrinkles on their face, and, oh, I'm working for a grown-up man. They brought me back to health. So India gave me the ability to see people who loved you despite all your challenges, who loved you knowing all your weaknesses and failures, and saw a future for you when you couldn't see it yourself. That's what India gave me.
Wonderful. And you also mentioned your brother moved you here without you knowing.
My brother could have bought himself a beautiful home in South Delhi or South Bombay, but he spent that money to put on a ship my life's belongings, furnishings, clothing, everything, to fill up a home in Delhi, because he knew it would mean something to me. And he's never asked me to sign a check for it and or put a payment plan through. He sacrificed for his brother. My sister did the same thing in America. So I learned that Indian families, like best families anywhere, will put out for you in ways you'll never be able to repay, but you are strengthened by it for a lifetime.
There's a whole section, another theme on love, care, partnership.
Is there something called love?
I mean, I'm asking you that
I'm
question.
loveless today.
It's your book, not mine. But you write about love that exists alongside silence and denial. So, you talk about your relationship with Charlie, emerges one that is of steadiness, sacrifice, care, describe him as your anchor and your hero. So, how do you reconcile gratitude for care with grief that was never acknowledged?
So relationships are so complex. I go back to that 3-year-old who was crying, the 9-year-old who was suicidal, the 12-year-old who found emancipation that wasn't clean. I just thought if Rekha can do it, I can do it. But that didn't mean that I was complete or that I would do the right thing. Rekha made a lot of errors as Amira Numrao, the character she was playing. So you find love. A street smart kid can do everything. Does it mean it's everything that is good for him or her, or is enriching their soul, or is something that will settle well in the longer run? Charlie and I were together 20 years. We had a very good relationship. But towards the end, we saw lots of reasons to not be together. He could blame me, I could blame him, but the blame game is unnecessary. When you're with anybody 20 years, you know you've loved them for 20 years. So there's no bad mouthing them after. They were perfect for those 20 years. We moved on. But I've learned one thing, that it's easier to dispense away with a relationship, but very tough to find another that's perfect. All relationships have all the emotions, good, bad, and ugly. And a smart person will keep them together, because finding a good one is impossible, especially in these days. So if you are in a relationship, if you love somebody, don't let them go. Keep them.
You also write about talking about street smartness, right? You learned very early how to read a room and adjust yourself accordingly. So when did that skill stop protecting you and start costing?
All my life. Because in protecting myself, I lose a lot of myself. and I also am doing things that function, but they may not work for me in the longer run. So, being street smart, it only takes you so far. At the end, that's what the mirror is put in this book. The mirror never let me look at the world with a lie. The mirror knew what I was doing, and I knew what I was doing wrong. And sometimes you choose to hide away from your truth. But in the end, there's a ghazal that says, ये सुबह की सफेदियां, ये दोपहर की जर्दियां, मैं आईने में देखता हूं मैं कहां चला गया. That the clarity of the morning, the dhundla of the evening, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you wonder, where have you gone? So your street smart will only take you so far. And then that reckoning with self at 60, 70, 80, just before your last breath, you'll be laughing at the person you see in the mirror. So stop being street smart, be vulnerable, be as truthful as you can to yourself, and don't worry about breaking too many hearts. If they break, they break. You have to keep yours intact. That's what we have in our command. And be kind to people around you. But first, feed yourself. I'm realizing I haven't fed myself enough.
One. I won't say wonderful again, but I'm sure that was beautiful. But, feeding yourself, food appears in this book, but it's not the headline. So, in moments when language failed you, how did food speak for you?
When I was being bullied at school for not playing football or cricket or hockey aggressively, and with joy, Panditji, my mother, her baking, Panditji's cooking, there was no judgment. Panditji was thrilled, and he would teach me how to read the Ramayana and the Gita and all the verses in perfect meter. She would teach me the art of baking. The kitchen was a place where I felt, A, you weren't being judged. B, it was like a cave of safety. C, you did things that made others smile. And when they ate it, they forgot you were a fag, you were this, you were that. So, you made this? Thank you. So it was a safe place. So food always was that safety net where I wasn't judged in any way.
You sent me a document yesterday which you called your bio. I said it's not a bio. It's a summary of your life, and in there you mentioned the different roles you played in school. And I thought it was so fascinating because for someone that young to take on so many roles and then.
I must. Modern school Vasant Vihar in New Delhi in the 70s and 80s was unlike anything anywhere in the planet ever. I had teachers who were my mom's age or perhaps younger. This was their first job. We had a principal who didn't care that they didn't have B.Eds. He saw good women, good men who had decency in them. He told them, go teach. So these teachers, when I was in 12th class, 12-year-old, who didn't want to be in the physics class, he hated it, said, ma'am, I want to write poems instead. Said, go to the staff room, write a poem. So they allowed me to bunk classes and do something else. They knew I wasn't doing wrong. When I was failing math but succeeding in art and getting printmaking with serigraphs, I would make serigraphs with 12 colors. And my art teacher would say, Suvir, tera to kaam shift hi nahi hota. Ma'am, I came at 8 and I went home at 9:30 in the evening. I would stay there till 9:30 in the evening finishing one print. So teachers didn't care. At 11th and 12th, I took physics, chemistry, math, biology, English. 5 subjects that CBSE wanted you for science students. In addition, I took music, senior Hindi, and fine arts. So nobody had done it in Indian history, in CBSE history. They allowed me. The principal said to the teachers, you'll have to let him miss classes. He'll create his own schedule. Who does this anywhere? They allowed me to do that. And when I go to them today, I said, ma'am, why did you let me do this? We knew you were a good kid. Marks didn't matter. You knew more about many things than we did. And they allowed me to just breathe.
Wonderful. That's what they call an IB education these days, but you were a revolutionary. You also, and I noticed that yesterday, you also sang in the morning assembly with another person I know, Sonam Karla, and she performs at the Opera House.
We were bachchas. 7 years we were leading the morning assembly, and we were hated by the 11th and 12th graders because we could decide 5 songs this morning or 2.
I mean, she's an amazingly talented soul, and you were having her back at the Opera House on Friday in February, actually.
Sonam and I performed at the Birla House for Gandhiji's death and birth anniversary every year. We sang with Amjad Ali Khan Sahab at radio, performed with MS Subbalakshmi on stage. Modern school gave us all of this.
You talked about the food, right? So I'm just going to read from your coda, right? You said, whether with pen or pan, plate or page, I will go on cooking. Flavors and phrases, memories and meals, feeding whoever is hungry including myself. And I wanted you to read it, but you told me you should read it. And I said, like, I feel being a bit of a fraud reading it, but what a beautiful, you
So the
know.
credit for this, the coda and the last bit goes to Shobhaa Day, who read the book, and she said to me, "But Suvir, tell people where you are today." And so I added the last pages because she said it will be, you leave people almost sad what happened. And so Shobha gets credit, and I thank you, Shobha. And she said, I want people to understand you're still succeeding. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
So the ending of your book, you write, "This is not the end of my story." This is very well choreographed. I didn't plan it this way. I was very worried to be talking to you because I thought you'll just talk for hours and I'll be just sitting there with one question answered. But no, I'm just getting back to it. You said that this is not the end of my story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope and gratitude and quiet strength of knowing that I am not alone. Sitting here now, what parts of yourself are you still learning to make peace with? And in the next chapter of your life, the new beginning, what are you most looking forward to living differently?
So I'm very excited that I'm working for a man called Aditya Kilachan, who ate my food recently at the Quorum Club in Bombay. And he comes with this childlike big grin, of course, the beauty that he got from his mother, and looks at me and he says, Suvir, this food is so good. I want to tell you something. What, Aditya? He said, order all the equipment you need. I want this and better. Don't let the kitchen kill you. Add more space, add more equipment. I'm behind you. So that is the first man in the planet, not just in India, anywhere in the world, who's ever told me as a human being, I'll invest more in you for space and equipment, create what you want. And he's also let me hire a team that's going to do all of that. I'm very excited. So come to Bombay, come to Alibag, invest in that. We're going to build a platform unlike any in the planet with a man who has vision. So that's my excitement today. As for what have I now not learned, I don't know how to do expenses. I don't know how to not let people come into my private space. I never make time for myself. I never take care of my health. And I worry about the entire planet. I'm a big mother to every human being I can bring under my wings. So that's my downfall.
So you just need to read your book and implement them, essentially. Uh, but I told Subir I want to chat with you about the panel. He said no, I like impromptu. Then I said, but I need to know a little. I knew him, but I just had to. And he sent me this one thing which I'm going to read. He sent me some points. I'm like, this is very random. He says it helps to have a few stones in your pocket while you walk in unfamiliar terrains. And I thought, okay. So I took the points and I crafted this discussion. I'm very excited that it actually came out so beautifully. Thank you for being such a great. I moderate a few sessions here and there, maybe a few month, but I never get answers back to the questions I ask. And he has been so, and this is a panel where I didn't even expect it. I'm just being honest, but you've been so generous with your honesty and your answers. And at that note, I think we should open it to the audience questions. I'm sure we will have a few. So, guys, do you all have mics? Come on, put your hands up. Shobhaa, any question?
I'm so boring.
Money has a question.
Wait, is money here? Oh!
It's not a question. I know we have been in touch over the phone, WhatsApp, and your voice messages, which I don't know how many times I listen to them. Like you put your emotion, love, everything in it. And whatever you write, I read it 2, 3, 4 times, and tears rolling down my eyes. And Suvir, if I could write, I would write a book, tell the world I like boys like Suvir.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you,
There's
Mani.
a gentleman at the back. Ma'am, there's a gentleman at the back.
So while we get to the question, my mother used to tell me, why are you airing your laundry publicly when I first started writing my column? And I would tell her, Mom, it makes it real. Every week I get tons of letters to me, and the editor publishing house gets them too. And people reveal that through my life, what I write, they can live a world that they won't live because their parents are hateful, their brothers put them away in a place where they can't even travel. So I'm living for a lot of other people, and in airing my dirty laundry, they are able to see a future. And now my mom, when I read those letters to my mom, she finally started getting it. So sorry that I did it, but she now supports me fully.
Hi. So, as a fellow health sufferer, as a fellow, I mean, not fellow feminist, but feminist of some
I'm a
sorts.
feminist of
Yes,
a kind.
exactly. But there's like, and we talk about disenfranchisement for women. We talk about how, uh, for women's health, this has been an issue now where we talk about how sort of suppressing your truth brings about physical illness and things like that. And I wonder, what are your thoughts about, you know, being another gender? Because I feel like this topic where, men's health, we don't talk about men's health as, having this sort of this dimension where, because of disenfranchisement, because of voices being silenced, because of being other somehow, this topic doesn't come up so much in men's health. But I wonder if you think that being another gender somehow brings that into your physical suffering, into your
So,
physical.
if you are you asking me if I belong to another gender?
No, I mean, I know you do. I'm just, I mean,
No,
to
no,
say
I'm
like,
trying to get a clarity
yeah,
on the
no, I mean,
question.
what I mean to ask is, it has not being a heterosexual man somehow also sort of contributed to being, like, contributed to being ill physically because your truth was suppressed, or,
Got it, got it.
yeah,
I think
sorry.
men have it tough because society trains them. Our parents teach us from a young age, you can't cry, you can't do social. Being a man in a world where men are ruling it is a tragedy. So I think we need more women raising men with greater warmth and generosity of emotional stability without being, of meltdowns, of breaking out. We need men to be free. That hyper masculine man that we glorify is a creature that should not be called a human being. Rakshas are better than them. So I urge all you mothers to teach your sons to be better human beings and to have meltdowns and breakdowns and emotional breakdowns, all of it. Because that's what their reality is. In covering them up, they become Rakshas and worse. So I think men have it very tough.
There's two questions at the back. That lady, especially that guy with the sunglasses.
Guy with the sunglasses.
Yeah, who was. Oh, no, no. Not that
Hey,
guy.
I have a question. It seems like you are back from New York now. So, if given the opportunity, would you like to go back to New York where you were, or you would like to now, in a way, stay in India and,
This is my tapasya. I'll tell you, would I like to go back to New York in a heartbeat? I'll never come back. In fact, my sister keeps reminding me, my green card, if I get it and if I renew it, I'll never come back. If I go to New York for 5 days, any more and I know I'll never come back. New York is unlike any place on the planet. Bombay comes close. So I stay in India, in Bombay, because it's my little bit of New York and perhaps a little more. There are layers of magic that New York didn't have. So in New York, I'm anonymous. In Bombay, I'm so and so, car, street, sab pata chal jata hai. In New York, it is entirely me. And I built myself and I'm recognized on the street. In India, I don't get recognized. In New York, I have history. So New York is very easy for me to go back to. I'm keeping myself away.
I think I could add to that. Bombay is the New York of India. Just leave it at
Oh,
that.
New
I
York is
came
the
back
Bombay.
after 16 years.
New York is the Bombay of the West. Let's
now,
call it
now
that.
things have changed there. No? Gentleman with the glasses.
Hi. Thank you so much for your honesty again. I think I really agree with what Asad was saying. You've been very honest, and that's great. I had a specific question about maybe struggles and failure. It seems like it's something you've gone through in your life, and as I guess human beings who experience this in our own ways, what are your ways of maybe dealing with it, and maybe you have some advice for us on your journey?
So, the first failure I had was I wrote a book with an author called Stephanie Linus. And my father raised us kids to be very fair. My parents raised us to not be competitive. We grew up in a family where everything was aired. Only the most beautiful things about our cousins were shared in all the parties. And our cousins were failures worse than us. We only found out through their classmates. My chachis and mamis and buas were glorifying their kids till 12th grade when they didn't make it to the correct colleges. So we're like, oh my God, we weren't all that bad. But our parents didn't bother. We were not taught to worry about the grade. My mother always said, get there. She taught me trigonometry. She taught me algebra. I was a failure in class. When she sat with me and did it, I learned. But she didn't say, now go get 100. She never said, go get 100. If I passed, she was happy enough. So my parents were the first teachers who taught us not to worry about competition. Then I arrive in America, I write the first cookbook, and I sell it to Clarkson Potter, which is the most noteworthy publishing house of cookbooks in America. Even today it is. And the woman, editor-in-chief, took my book, and she said, "You're the Mario Batali of the non-European world. So I'm investing in you." She gave me $100,000, which was never given to a cook ever in history. She gave it, I wrote the book, and she said, "But I'd like you to have an author with you." So I brought Stephanie Linus, who'd written the best books that were awarded the highest awards by the French and the Italians until then. It was the first time for her to work on an Indian book. We wrote a book that sold over 250,000 copies. And when she said, "Can I get equal credit?" I said, "Sure." So it went Suvir Saran and Stephanie Linus. I was 29 when I wrote the book. The James Beard Foundation was giving me the award for the best cookbook written in America. A person called Fact Checking. "Mr. Saran, are you still 30? Are you still under 30? I said, "Yes." But I said, "But by the time you give the award, I'll be 31. She said, "Then we can't give you the award." So it didn't break my world. My book sold 250,000 copies. That to me means I've changed lives. The award, books at the award sell 3,000 copies. So it didn't matter at the end of the day. Stephanie got 50% of credit. I gave her 50% of all the royalties and earnings. And she said, "You're being very fair." I said, "You're putting a lot of effort." So for me, fairness matters. Success, failure, irrelevant. If my mother told us, "Give it your best and let it be." That's not in your control. So I try to live by that. I've had many terrible failures, many setbacks, but they don't break me because I have a rag, I have a mother, I have a friend, I have a neighborhood, and I have a community that loves me. And I look at that and I move forward.
And we didn't talk too much about his food and his restaurants, but you were the first Indian restaurant to receive a Michelin star.
First non-French and Northern European restaurant to get a Michelin star. In North America, when the guidebook first arrived in America in 2007, so we were 18 restaurants that got that. And we were the first 4-star New York Magazine restaurant that was Indian. But none of that changed me. It didn't fulfill me. It didn't change me. It was just, it happened. What built me, broke me were people. And so let's invest in people more than we do in all these other things.
The lady there. We've got 1.7. Yeah, I know. I'm reading, dude.
See, they're taking away time from me. And I'm still smiling. And Asad.
Question. Give it the mic. One last one.
Congratulations, Suvir,
Thank
on
you,
the
ma'am.
book. So the title is very direct, but was there a specific moment or a threshold that you crossed when you finally felt ready to say these words?
So this was title number 29 in my list of 30 titles I sent my editor. And she picked this up. And I'm like, "Oh my God." I was trying to be cute with this title. I didn't think it was all that amazing. So she picks number 29 out of 30 I gave her. I called, I said, "Manasi, I don't know what my mother will say." She said, "Well, it's a catchy title." I called Mom and a white lie. I said, "Mom, the publishers picked a title." She said, "What is it?" I said, "Tell my mother I like boys." And Mom's reaction, very catchy, people will love it. So I was there, cancelled. So I thought it should be something more cerebral and exciting, but it went. So I don't know if the title connects to the book, but I came out to my mom at 20. I was telling Asad that a journalist from Dainik Jagran said to me, "Sir, aap Masiha ki tarah hai." I said, "Masiha kaun ho sakta hai? Insan kaun Masiha ho sakta hai?" He said, "Aap hai." I said, "Kya?" He said, "When you enter a room, everybody looks at you. People want selfies with you." He said, "At the Diwali party at the ITC Moria, over 300 people stood and took photographs with you, ministers, everyday people." And he said, "You were there for 2.5 hours just getting photos clicked. I saw you." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Shashi Tharoor ko 15 logon ne kara hoga." So he's telling me, he's counting all of this. I said, "But where are you going with this story?" He said, "I'm touching you today because I read your book." And I said, what did it reveal?" He said, "You told your mother, you've told the world your entire life story, and you don't care a damn." And he used the F word. He said, "You don't care a F what anybody says or does. So now you live with the clarity of a Masiha." And I told you, I slept on it, and I said, he's right. Having told my parents who I am, gave me the ability to keep living life through all of its vicissitudes with greater integrity and strength. So thank you, Mom, and thanks to my dad. And they gave me that ability.
Thank you, Suvir. I mean, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you to this wonderful audience. Please go get some lunch. But before that, Suvir is going to be signing books. Buy a copy. I think he'll be around there. And have a wonderful rest of the festival. Thank you.